Coming up on Theater Talk.
And it's always great to get to revisit something, because you really don't revisit it. You just get to grow more, you know, because it's not the same river. The river's been flowing, and the world changes around the river.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation and Paul Bungert and Alan Lane. From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
So, Michael, I am delighted that one of my very favorite plays from last season is back at second stage right now.
Between Riverside and Crazy, the play is called, by one of our favorite playwrights, Mr. Stephen Adly Guirgis, who wrote Mother with a Hat, you know, a play near and dear to my heart. Welcome back to Theater Talk, Stephen.
Thank you.
It stars Susan, one of our favorite actors.
The day of favorites.
Stephen McKinley Henderson, who we have seen in Fences, all the great August Wilson plays, and it's always good to have you with us.
Dracula.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Was that the off-Broadway Dracula?
No. This was Frank Wildhorn's Dracula.
Oh, I forgot about
Dracula the musical.
Van Helsing, right?
Van Helsing, yes. With the, oh, my God.
And another favorite New York theater personality of ours, Austin Pendleton, who has directed Between Riverside and Crazy. Welcome, all of you, to Theater Talk.
Thank you.
All right, so Stephen, for people who haven't seen the play, can you tell us a little bit what it's about and what sort of inspired you to write it? What's behind the play itself?
I think the play came from two different things. On the one hand, there was a case in the 90s where a white cop had shot a black cop. It was the Color of the Day case. And it always stuck with me, and I always knew I wanted to write about it in some way. And I thought maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. And then at the same time, my mother passed away, and I moved in with my dad, and I lived with him the night she died until he died 4 years later. And during that time, we had a lot of colorful house guests, and then those two ideas sort of came together when I was visiting Steve, because we're real close, and I kind of said to myself, oh yeah, like I want to do a lot of plays with Steve. We've only done one, so I better pick it up. So I started writing two plays, and this is the one that came first, and we hopefully have another one.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like, you know, you
So
got
you
a
wrote
national
it
treasure that you're like hanging out,
Yes.
having drinks with on your couch. You want to get him off the couch, and
Were you one of those strange people who crashed into his...
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I did come through the house once, and I did get to see his father one time at a lab meeting once. But Stephen came to Buffalo, where I live, you know, and he saw me walking with a cane, and he said, "What's that about?" And I said, "Well, man, I just got diagnosed with this thing," and I said, "You know, I'm just slowing down, man. It's gonna creep on me." And he says, "Well, I got two plays that I mean, I got to hurry up and write these plays." And I thought he was being really nice, you know. But he went and he did it. And then we did just, you know, when he just won the Steinberg Award, you know. So we read from a little bit from the other play, and people were coming and saying, "Oh my God, when is that one coming?" You know, and I said, "Well, probably quick, man, because but I don't know. But it's just a joy to get to do and to do with Austin, because I don't know if our paths would have ever crossed if it had
The
not
first
been.
time you guys have worked together?
Our paths would have crossed, yeah, but it's the first time we worked. We never would have worked like this. And it's just, so sometimes, you know, sometimes things just, that synchronicity is just, it's right.
Is this the first of Stephen's plays that you've directed?
Yes. The others were directed by Phil Hoffman, who I was a good friend with, and Anna Shapiro, whom I'm a good friend with. So I know, I think I've seen them all between Phil and Anna.
Who brought you into this? Neil Pepe or
you know what happened was we had a reading down at Lab, and Austin was acting in the reading, and the play was good, but it was like developing. I was watching Austin, and he was so free in his acting, and I was watching. I was like, it reminds me of something. It reminds me of somebody, and then I realized that it reminded me of Phil Hoffman, and Austin had kind of mentored Phil, gave Phil his first job, and And that's why Austin was always at my plays, you know, and I just looked at it and I felt something, and I said, why don't I just see if Austin wants to direct this play? I didn't really even know you, but it just felt like the right thing. I felt like this is a family play, and the actors in it basically all were close and were family, and I wanted it that, and I felt it was like family by extension, and it's become, you know, so it felt right.
So, Stephen, tell us about your character.
Angry man.
Yeah, the facts is, you know, he's an ex-cop, retired now because of an incident, a shooting incident, and his wife passed away during this time. And when we first did the show, I really had the wife at the center, and that was the central motivation for the guy. And now it's always great to get to revisit something, because you really don't revisit it. You just get to grow more, you know, because it's not the same river. The river's been flowing, and the world changes around the river, you know. And but now it's so much about the son. It's so much about making sure that I can leave something that the kid is taken care of, because he's a guy that really sees himself exiting. You know what I mean? He really does see that this is the last act.
We meet him and he's in a wheelchair. And
because he wants to be.
Yes, because he wants to be. And then unexpected things happen, remarkable.
Unexpected, yeah. But he can walk around. It's just that the wheelchair was his wife's.
Yes.
And it's like
he's sedentary.
He's very, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. And what's the disease where you don't go out of the house at all?
Agoraphobia.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's very close to that. He just does not go out. People go get things, bring them back.
Right, right. He's really disengaging from the world in some ways.
Yes, very much.
Well, and also at the same time holding court with the whole world.
Yeah, right. Coming to
Well,
him.
yeah, he wants to have his way before he leaves.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
He definitely. Yeah.
What is there? You've directed many plays, many different kind of plays. Is there the same approach to all playwrights, or when you tackle Stephen's play, the Stephen Adly Guirgis kind of play?
Yeah.
Is there some adjustment you have to make as a director in dealing with his language, his characters?
Well, a lot of those decisions have to do with casting. When I was hired for the job, the one person who was in it already was Stephen, and of course I knew his work. But I'd seen it a lot, you know, as has everybody, and I was very excited about that. But then, in terms of casting the other roles, I said to this Stephen over here, I said, "You cast it because you know your actors." And I'd seen all these Phil Hoffman and Anna productions. The Anna production of The Mother, where the hat I saw was the one at Steppenwolf, which she did after Broadway.
Right.
And there were the actors in all those shows were, they were wonderful, and they clearly had a feeling for Stephen's language and for his people and for the circumstances of his plays. And you can't teach that.
Right. Right.
And
so in the case with his plays, it really is 90% of the directing is the casting.
yeah, Kazan used to say that's about 90% of directing.
It is and it isn't. You know, it's like it wouldn't be the same. You know, Austin's made it, and especially now, I noticed so much from the summer into this production. I just kind of blown away. I was away for a few days, and I come in, how everything feels so much more rich and lived in, and the most encouraging thing is it feels like, and there's more to discover, and there's more to discover, and there's more to discover, and it's a real blessing. But you got to have someone who's interested in continuing the journey of discovery. Not
So
just
that's
like,
the Austin thing, that he's never satisfied. He keeps going.
I think none of us are.
Good.
You know, and
There's
every once
not
in a while
one
we're like,
person
okay,
who is.
can you be satisfied? You know, can we,
right.
you know, but
You can't get too confident, though, right?
Yeah.
But it's an inspiring thing. I mean, what he's got there in the text is inspiring, and that's the thing about Austin, because he'll come in the day and you can just see it in his eyes. I got something for you today, you know, and you know, you sort of say, okay, you know.
Is every idea brilliant, or sometimes like, oh?
Well, you know, you got to have a lot of ideas to have great ideas.
Yeah, right, right.
And but no, I mean, quite honestly, I mean, it really is. It's down now to the fine tuning. You know, I mean, he doesn't come with something that's. It's not just an experiment. It's based on and inspired by the success of a previous moment or something. You know, So, and there's something that he sees clearer than he, more clearly.
You see things clearly when you watch a performance, and you say, "Oh, something starts to happen out of what you've been working on, that develops out of what you have been working on," and then you say, "Oh, wait! Now that I actually see that happening, take that another step further, and and something else will happen."
Right.
But there's terrific writing. There's terrific playwriting where that does not happen. But it has to be really terrific playwriting for that to happen.
When do you, Stephen, because I know you work with kind of a family sort of actors and
At the
directors.
lab, yeah.
Yeah, the lab and all that. When do you first show someone something you've written?
As early as possible.
Really? You don't husband it, you don't wait till it's perfect and polished?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm kind of holding back on them at the end for these rewrites, but no, in general, if I got 20 pages, sometimes I don't actually, what I do more often than not is not write 20 pages, but I'll call up Steve and I'll call up a few people. I'm like, hey, can you do a reading 2 weeks from Friday? So he's like, well, I'm in Buffalo, but I'll be down. Are you going to stay at the house? Yeah, stay at the house, blah, blah, blah. Austin, can you call? Yeah. So there's going to be a reading on this date. And most of the time I haven't written anything.
But you give me.
But now I know Steve's coming from Buffalo, Austin's coming from here, Mike, and that, and because once I have something to begin with, then I find that there's a community that's encouraging you to sort of keep going.
We had you back in 2003 with Our Lady of 121st Street.
Yeah.
And I never forget, you told us the story about how you were writing it, Phil Hoffman was directing it, and then we said, well, why did you finish the play? And it was because Phil Hoffman said to you.
Yeah. And it was really like I didn't want to let him down. I didn't want to let John Ortiz down. I remember they were like, if we don't finish if you don't have a second act in 2 days, because we were in tech, we can't go up. And but then I remember Phil crying and saying, but if you can't finish it, it's okay. And that was the part that really ripped me apart, more than the threat was, I was like, I can't let these guys, this is my family, and that's really that's the main motivation. It's to this day is not letting down a family. And that's why I like plays to be family. Even in the TV thing, when I work in TV, I find a way to make it like there's someone I can't let down.
Were you showing Phil your work up until towards the end of his life?
The end of his life, he was not associating
Not
with
well,
me.
yeah.
Yeah, I think he kind of cut out, well, I know he cut out everybody who wouldn't stand for what the hell was
He was so sick.
was going on. Yeah, but
So then you had to find other people.
yeah, I mean, I had already worked with Anna.
Yeah.
So I had already crossed the bridge. Like I worked with Phil for 5 plays, I think a dozen years. So I'd already crossed the bridge of working with someone else, which thank God. I mean, that was a kind of a blessing. But it was more like, the work that we did, it'll continue, I think about him every day, but it's more his kids and I lost both my parents, and that's hard, and this is it's also hard because you don't want to, but you're going to bury your parents if everything goes well.
But you don't think you're going to bury your best friend or your...
I always thought that I was certain that he would outlive me, and the funny thing is that he was certain that he would outlive me.
Although clearly from Mother with the Hat, you dealt with addicts a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you get past the age of 21, and if you're still partying, you start to learn that the world subdivides, right? And you have eventually at a certain point, people either get sober or don't, and the people that can be recreational, and it's funny. It's not funny, and the older you get, the more and more you realize you can't do anything except reserve judgment you know, because it's so. But
did you have your wild days when you were a young actor, Austin? And
young actor, last week.
right. He's right. Yeah.
I mean, because I always talk to, you know, I remember having conversations with Brian Dennehy over the years, and like Chris Plummer too. He said, when you're young, I think it was Chris Plummer who said to me, you know, when you're young, kind of the mark of your manhood was you would do Hamlet and in the matinee, and then you'd go out and you'd have 2 bottles of Bordeaux with your friends, and then you'd go and you'd give an even better performance at night. He said you can do that when you're young, and then all of a sudden something hits and you can't carry on like that anymore.
One thing I don't think I've ever done was do anything before a performance. Now, once the performance is over, the evening performance is over.
The fun begins.
That's another story.
Right.
But I've always been terrified of. It's hard to be on stage with someone who's been either drinking or using. It's very hard. Well, no, I should be fair. Sometimes it's wonderful. Certain actors know where to take that. You know, I should say that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
So I've always had a fear of, even when you go to a reception before a performance and they say, oh, just have a little wine, I get frightened that I won't know what I'm doing on stage. Or I won't know that I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I'm familiar with the sensation of not knowing what I'm doing on stage.
Stephen, you were nodding in agreement there when it's hard to work with somebody who...
Oh, yeah.
Have you had that experience with...
Yeah, you know, I have. And I've had the other experience, as he said, where someone who, they're on their game. They can handle it.
Yeah.
But then you've got the people who think they can.
Yeah.
And think they're having a great performance.
Yeah, right.
And think that the audience appreciates that they're a little looser. And, you know, so.
What do you do? How do you handle a situation like that?
I
You just
cling
get out of
to
the
the
way?
text. I cling to the text. I cling to the play. I cling to the story. You know, try to stay right there. I mean, it's the best you can do. You know.
And try to bring that other actor back who may be flying all over the place?
Yeah. But I mean, I don't make that my goal. I mean, but I just hope that being an anchor will anchor you. I'm going to be here when you want to be here in the play. This is where I'm going to be.
Right.
And come on back. But you can't turn it into helping them, because you just left the play too, you know. So,
Interesting.
but you know, if you got a different way to do it in Peoria than you do it in New York, you don't deserve to do it either place, as far as I'm concerned. You just got to serve the play, and you got to and join the family to serve the play, and it's such a wonderful thing. It's the biggest high. It's the best high you'll have, man.
Right.
That, you know, there now after the show's over, maybe there's somewhere to go, you know. But you can't have a better experience on stage than really occupying that play, and joining the people out there who are watching it, and getting their contact high off what you're doing.
But I can see, though, why you can fall, a performer can fall into the trap, as many have with drug use or alcohol, because when you have that great moment on the stage, and you've given that great performance in front of an audience, and then it's gone, and there's that, I don't know, sometimes
It's hard to come down
an
off
emptiness
of.
is suddenly, everything's just shut off like that. And you have to bring yourself down somehow.
You know, Pete Townsend of The Who became a heroin addict in his 40s. And they asked him how that could happen, and he said, because when you perform, when you're done, you have to go from 99 to 0.
Yeah. Peter O'Toole's ex-wife wrote a book, and she was talking about what you were referring to, that time in London, well, the Young Turks, and they all were all like, we go out and we drink in the pub, and then we go do our play, Richard Harris, and da-da-da-da. And she said, you know, the funny thing is that that's what the public would see, and Peter would go and have the pub and have the drink and then do the show. But what they didn't know was that after the show, he would come home to the house and stay up all night, obsessively working, so that he could go back into London the next day and act like, oh yeah, it's nothing, it's just something I do.
Huh.
I mean, I think people that care about the work care about.
I remember John Cullum did, he did Camelot with Richard Burton. And Burton, you know, would often show up drunk.
Yeah.
And usually he could get through it.
Yes.
But he said one night Burton came in and he was swaying. And we just thought, this is a bad scene. And Burton came out to deliver a monologue or a song or something. And he looks over at Cullum, who's playing a young knight, another knight, and he says, Sir Stephen, Sir Austin, come. Kneel, and they kneel, and then he balanced himself on their heads, and he did a song so he didn't fall down.
Oh, God.
So there's a way of doing it. Before I let you guys go, since I have 3 very prominent people in theater, I'm very curious to know, Very, very early on in your life, what was the show, play, movie you saw that opened up this world for you, that made you decide you wanted to be on the stage or be an actor? Was it a performance you saw?
I remember it explicitly. When I was growing up in Ohio, my mom was involved with a community theater group. She had been a professional actress and director before she married my dad, and then she settled down, and then they started, after World War II, this community theater. And about 10 years into that, and they would rehearse sometimes in the evening in our living room. Anyway, around 8 or 9 years into their time, and they're still there, the group is still there. An excellent group. She was an excellent director and actress, and they got other people who were very good. I saw, having never seen or read, they did a very credible production of A Streetcar Named Desire, a play I did not know. And I remember saying to my cousin when she and I went home, when I took her back to her house, I was 14. She was 15. I said, I didn't know you could see a play where you actually would worry about somebody afterward. The leading character.
Yeah,
yeah. It was a revelation. And I think the die was cast.
And for you, Steve, you grew up in Kansas City?
Kansas City, Kansas. Yeah, and a lot of different things came together for me to feel comfortable on the stage. I just felt comfortable on the stage. But I remember when I got serious about it, and I just thought about it. I had this fabulous teacher. I've always had great teachers, leaders, directors, playwright, teachers. And but Gloria Terrell was her name, and is her name. I think she's still with us. And we were doing a production of Blues from Mr. Charlie by James Baldwin. And she did this thing with this role, Juanita, that and I just watched her do it every night, and I just think, how does she go there every night? Go to this place, and it took the whole room, and it was cause-oriented, because we were very much about mission-oriented, about raising consciousness in the Black Arts movement and so on and so forth. So it was about getting people out of just the entertainment realm and into the consciousness-raising realm. And she just did it, man. I mean, she did it in such an incredible way. And because she encouraged me, she thought enough of me to think that I should embark on this path, And her husband, because I was a math major, and her husband, who was an engineer, and he told me a couple of years ago when I was doing fences, he said, man, I always go around and I still give speeches and get kids to go to KU, Kansas University, or to this school or that school. And he said, but you're the only guy I ever told to drop out. He said, you're the only guy who was a math major who I ever told,
go be an actor.
Gloria's right, man. Leave it alone. Go on and go to that school in New York. Go.
That was it.
Yeah.
And for you, Stephen, growing up in the city, did you see plays early on?
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of money for plays. I remember seeing Scapino with Jim Dale when I was a kid. I had a big impression.
Yeah.
But my mom used to take us to the Regency to see the double features. I was into this from Good Times and the Waltons on TV. I get emotionally invested in anything. And then I think when I became a little bit older, it's corny to say, but Malkovich and Burn This just changed my world. And then a year or two later, what really was Ruffalo in This Is Our Youth.
Yeah.
And I was in acting school at the time, and then I was like, I'm going to do anything I have to get as good as I can. And then, and now everything. I mean, I still can escape into that world. And my favorite thing, whether it's, it happens mostly in theaters, where you see something and afterwards, like, you're with friends, but you don't want to talk, you want to just sort of go off. Like, it's almost be like in an hour I'll meet you. But when you just,
did you want to be an actor first?
Yes. Yeah, I started writing when I got involved with Labyrinth Theater Company. And we quickly became like multidisciplinary, encouraging multidisciplinary and stuff. And, I wrote a little one act, and everybody seemed to laugh at the funny parts and be engaged in the sad parts. And then they kind of just forced me to keep writing.
But I want to congratulate you on your performance in the Academy Award nominated Birdman.
Birdman,
you know.
yeah.
Yes, I think so.
I am the good neighbor.
Yes, you are. Okay.
Yeah,
Would you be
right.
tempted to do more acting though?
It's what I love to do the most, and I'm always saying to myself, all right, I'm gonna make a plan so I can just act for a while. It doesn't happen. Now the thought of, I was thinking about it last night, is terrifying. And that means like it's now or never. Run back into that water or live a sad
As an award-winning playwright. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Or make a lot of other actors very, very happy.
That's a good component.
That's right. All right. The play is Between Riverside and Crazy at Second Stage. It stars the great Stephen McKinley Henderson, written by Stephen Adly Guirgis and directed by Austin Pendleton. Thanks, guys, for being our guest tonight.
And Austin, I look forward to the Hamlet you're directing at CSC with Peter Sarsgaard.
Oh, that's a strange play.
Okay.
It's a very good description of Hamlet. That's a strange play.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Corey and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, plus public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs and the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.